One. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Delusions of Grandeur. I am one of your hosts. But today we are going to go on about the exciting satanic sequel of sorts. So, but here in the room with me, I have my buddy Boris, who is going to tell us the grave details of this this fine film that we have in store for you today. So, why don't you tell us what film we are going to be discussing? And why does it mean something to you?
Oh, no, those are some interesting questions. On tonight's episode, we are discussing Damien, Omen II from 1978. It's the sequel to the satanic classic from 1976, The Omen. This sequel was directed by Don Taylor and Mike Hodges, or Hodges, not sure how it's pronounced, I'm sorry, and written by Harvey Bernhard, which one interesting thing is the first movie, The Omen, also had a novelization, which was also written by David Seltzer, who wrote the first movie. Unlike the second one, which also has a novelization, Damien, Omen II, but this one wasn't written by Harvey Bernhard, who wrote the movie, but this one was by a guy named Joseph Howard. Okay, so first of all, spoiler alert, although those of you who watch us already know that we will be discussing many aspects of this film and we will spoil the shit out of it like we always do.
Yep.
So before we get into our first impressions, maybe I should read the synopsis on IMDb. So it says, Damien, the Antichrist, as we found out in the first movie, who is now about to turn 13 years old, finally learns of his destiny under the guidance of an unholy disciple of Satan. Meanwhile, dark forces begin to eliminate all those who suspect the child's true identity. So, Dave, what I suppose this wasn't your first time watching this movie, but what were your first impressions when you saw it first time, and what were they now?
No, this was definitely not my first time watching the film, but it had to be like my third or fourth time viewing the film, because I watched it some years back, and then I watched it again with my fiance when we binged the series. And I would have to say the ones after this I've only seen about once. So, so to me, it's like these first two are like the ones that I know the most, and then the other three after this are like sketchy in my mind, So,
yeah, I understand.
But I liked this one. I mean, I liked the music behind it. I liked that it kind of like followed the first one. I mean, you got the archaeological dude, and there's this whole Antichrist thing going on, and the Satanist cult is continuing, and the rise to power. I mean, these are all things that they're trying to prevent, and yet, as you can see, these films follow a certain, you know, pathway design. You're not you're not expected to have a happy ending in these films at any given point in time.
Mm, Indeed, although in my personal opinion, it's kind of debatable what a happy ending would even be. This one, since as we find out, Damien himself was not really aware of who he is, and he didn't really have much of a choice. So it's debatable whether he even is a bad guy in all this, or just another puppet and another victim like everyone else.
Or just a victim of circumstance where he just so happens to look like the Antichrist. And yet, and yet, there are things that happen around him, and people get hurt around him for no particular reason. So,
Well, yeah, that's true. Well, my first impressions of this movie, yeah, it's not my first time seeing it either. This was maybe my, I think, third or fourth time watching it. Yeah, as you know, The Omen is one of my favorite horror franchises. I really like the fact how each movie adds more to the character development of Damien, and
definitely, at least the mythology of the character.
yeah, that's definitely true.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, so let's see what we have here. At the very beginning, we have a scene that takes place shortly after the ending of the first movie. So, the archaeologist Carl Bugenhagen goes to meet this man named Michael Morgan, and he tells him about Damien being the Antichrist. I think he even mentions that his adoptive father Robert tried to kill him and died in the process, while Damien survived.
Well, yeah, because
And
he's the one who actually gave him the daggers to begin with.
yeah, uh, yeah, that's right. And huh, now that I'm thinking about it, Bugenhagen gave Michael Morgan a case with the items required to kill Damien, which now kind of makes me wonder how those daggers found their way back to Bugenhagen
Correct.
after.
Correct. I was thinking the same thing. It's like, how the hell did he get some more? I would think that these daggers would probably be really rare, you know?
Actually, I think they're supposed to be unique. Those seven should exist, and no more, no less than that. Uh, yeah. So he gives him those things, but Morgan doesn't believe it at first. He thinks it's all some religious nonsense and stuff. So Bugenhagen takes him to the ruins where he can see the evidence of the existence of the Antichrist.
To see Yeagle's wall. Now, who is Yeagle?
Yeah, he was some painter, I think.
He was a monk.
Monk, yeah, they discuss more about him at some point later. This
Evidently, he
guy,
was a monk that supposedly had visions of the Antichrist rising.
yeah, something like that. He went crazy, and he became obsessed with painting what he saw. Supposedly, he was painting the Antichrist from birth to downfall.
Mm-hmm. And he had to have been a very good painter because those were some very interesting depictions.
Oh, indeed. I definitely like that painting. I wish a complete version of it was available anywhere, and I also really liked that statue of the Whore of Babylon, which also appears there. As you know, I'm quite a fan of statues of dark mythological characters. I have quite several myself, actually. They are right now here around me on my desk if you
In
maybe want to
fact,
see any.
in the background, ladies and gentlemen, he might have the raven that uh, it probably spells your death. So
Oh yeah, that figure I have in the background. I normally have an owl there, but for this discussion, I put this figure there, which actually I received recently as a gift from a good friend of mine from the UK. And I was actually pretty impressed by that because I didn't really expect it. It was a complete surprise for me and a very interesting one. Precisely because, as you know, I have this whole set of the Omen movies and the books which you probably saw before. Wait, let me just put them in the correct order. The five Omen books. Oh, nice. Yeah.
that's the
So
Shout Factory Blu-ray set, which I picked up for $40.
yeah. So I was planning to get some mini plastic Raven toy to display on the shelf.
But here's
Uh,
my original DVD set of the first four. So
ooh. Oh, the other one is the Blu-ray set, and these are the DVDs. I see.
yep.
Yeah, I have this. This is a DVD set of five DVDs. It has the original four movies and the remake from 2006. Uh, yeah, so I originally wanted to get some plastic Raven to put on the shelf with these DVDs and books, but I couldn't find one. So this, what you see in the background, I was really happy to receive that. It looks quite good on my shelf next to my Omen stuff.
Yeah. Um, the Omen is a decent set to eventually collect if you do not have it. So it's definitely a unique series.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And the books are also worth reading. They expand the universe quite a bit.
And how many books are there?
Oh, there are five books. So let's see. The first one, The Omen, it's a novelization of the first movie written by David Seltzer, who wrote the first movie. The second one, Damien, Omen II, is a novelization of the second movie, logically, but this one, like I said, was written by Joseph Howard, so not by the same person who wrote the movie. The third one, the third movie was also novelized as Omen, the Final Conflict, but there is also this fourth movie, Omen 4, The Awakening, which wasn't novelized, but this man, Gordon McGill, who wrote the third novel, he wrote two more novels as his own expansion of the universe, which are Omen 4, Armageddon 2000, and Omen 5, The Abomination. So these, yeah, these two books do not have not been adapted to movies. So we have four movies and five books and movie remakes.
Yeah, I used to collect the Amityville books um, that I know that there were out there for a time. So I know that there were novelizations of certain film franchises that were pretty cool. I I read the Amityville Horror myself, and I wish they would have kind of kept true to the book, even though a lot of people believe that that book is like um, not true. But it is what it is. Anyways, let's get back
Yeah.
to the movie at hand.
Yeah. So, Guggenhagen shows Michael Morgan, the Eagle's Wall, and the statue of the Whore of Babylon. But just as Morgan realizes that it's all true, the tunnel starts collapsing, and
And
they
they are
both.
buried alive.
Oh yeah, quite a gruesome ending for them both. And then the raven, who was on top of the ruins all that time, it flies away after that. Which I think maybe in the 70s when the movie was made, maybe that was quite some scary effect because at that time I think many people had these superstitious beliefs about some animals bringing bad luck or announcing death or something like that. Uh,
Okay.
so, yeah.
Well, and the nice thing is that this movie was like only 2 years later. You know.
Indeed, although in the story it was apparently 7 years. After this scene, the story jumps 7 years into the future, uh, where we see 12 years old Damien and his cousin Mark, who are about to go to the military academy. Uh, what do you think about Damien and Mark as characters in this movie?
I think in the very beginning of this film, Davey and Mark are like any other like young teenage boys, and they seem to get along. Um, and I would have to say, before they even joined up with the military, their lives were kind of innocent. But it's not until they end up going to the military academy is when their lives get thrown into like chaos, you know.
Uh, Indeed, yeah.
Especially since they're newbies on campus and they've got to deal with the military academy bullies. So,
Oh, indeed. There is actually quite an interesting scene regarding a bully in this movie. This guy named Teddy, who was making fun of Damien and Mark and their family history, and while he was making fun of Mark, Damien attacked him telepathically, kind of not even knowing what he was doing, but like he got angry and his powers just did a job on his behalf. Without him being even fully aware of what he was doing. Yeah, I kind of like that scene. While at the same time, at the Thorn residence, we have uh, uh, Uncle Richard, who is the brother of the deceased Robert Thorn, and he's.
correct. And he's got some kind of industry that he owns. Tell us a little bit about that industry.
The Thorn Industries. It's apparently a very wealthy company which I kind of didn't fully pick up what exactly they produce, but I think they produce food or something like that, from what I understood.
Okay.
They are supposedly a very wealthy company, and it's a somewhat important part of the story that.
Maybe farming food, since they were
Oh,
talking about agriculture.
yeah, probably something like that. And apparently, it's very important that Damien eventually inherits this whole property. There is this one scene with this guy, Paul Buer, who we later find out is also a member of the satanic cult, who is working in the background and helping Damien prosper. He mentions that Damien is eventually going to inherit all of it, and at that point, Damien says something like, "But wait, Mark is going to inherit it too," and Bueller says, like, "Yeah, Mark too." While it's kind of clear to us that it's not really planned for Mark to be a part of it.
Yeah. I just keep thinking about the line in Lord of the Rings when Gandalf the Grey says, "There is only one ring of power, and he does not share power," or something like that. And there is only one ruler of the ring, and he does not share power. And to me, I think of the same thing with like the devil. I mean, or
Oh,
Satan himself. I mean, there is only one Satan, and he does not share power. So,
yeah.
so how can all these Satanists like worship him when they can't really like control any of this power themselves?
Oh, yeah, actually, it's never fully explained how they do all these things. Like, some things just happen, like some of these freak accidents. Like when someone finds out something about Damien that would be dangerous if it was revealed, then they die. Sometimes they get outright murdered, but sometimes it's like freak accident, and it's not really explained whether it was caused by someone from the cult casting a curse on them or something like that, or if it's Satan himself pulling some strings to make things happen.
True. So ultimately, we have there is a dude that apparently is trying to expand the Thorn Industries into like other land or whatnot. But
Yeah.
there's
Uh,
also someone else who is against them expanding because they think it's unethical. What do you think about that?
yeah, this old guy, Bill Atherton. Yeah, well, I must admit, since I'm not much into politics myself, I didn't understand much of that discussion. But yeah, I could gather that Bill was concerned about people's well being, while Bueller, who is a member of the cult, he was all about profit, which kind of resembles our world as well. I mean, in our reality, one does not even need to be a member of some evil cult to be an asshole, only caring about their own profit, no matter how it affects other people.
Nope.
Mm.
You definitely do not. But that whole thing was more or less. Bill, he was pretty much saying that, you know, if you take the this land, you're taking it from the people who live on it, and these are these people's homes, and you're upsetting their way of life. And he was trying to push that the idea that that the company would just be enriching their life. Well, how do you know you will be enriching their life when you're changing their life?
Uh,
When you own the land, you're essentially like owning slaves.
yeah, that was probably it. Like I said, I have seen this movie multiple times, but that kind of political discussion, like I said, didn't really understand it much since I'm really not into politics. uh,
Yeah, but when it comes to movies and discussing movies, sometimes politics comes into play.
it did. I'm sorry, just a moment. I happen to have a mosquito in my room, and I have to plug this thing in uh, to chase it away because I can't spend this time chasing it myself. Okay, sorry, I'm back.
Fucking bloodsuckers.
Literally.
But to be honest, the Omen is all about politics.
Actually, yeah, yeah. In the first movie, it's mentioned that it has.
Well, he's supposed to inherit the earth. So,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
to me, whenever something biblical is talking about the Antichrist or something like that, it's always mentioned that the Antichrist will rise to power, like even
In the
in the
world of
left,
politics.
even in the Left Behind series, the book series,
Oh,
that follows the tribulation. Supposedly, when the end of the world happens, supposedly there will be 7 years of tribulation,
oh,
according to the Bible. And during this 7 years of tribulation, those who have not already like gone up to heaven or whatnot, because they've already been judged, um, have a time to come to terms with themselves, and then there will be a final judgment after like this 7 years of tribulation, supposedly. But during the first 3 years is when the Antichrist is supposed to like rise. This is like the tribulation prophecy. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but
I have actually, and I did read the book of Revelation at one point, but it was a bit confusing. I didn't fully understand it. It has a lot of symbolism and stuff.
yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah. Uh, oh, by the way, we forgot to mention one kind of nasty character in this movie, didn't we?
Which one are we talking about? Damien himself?
No, I didn't mean him. I meant Aunt Marion.
Oh yeah, Aunt Marion is the first character that we come across. Old crone of a sort, um, where she's basically totally against Damien from the start.
Indeed. And what did you think of her as a character?
Um, I don't know. I think she was just trying to protect her legacy. It's It's not that she was an entire bitch. I mean, she was, but I can understand why. I mean, she's like the mother of that brother that died, and she knows something went, kooky.
Wait, is she the mother? If she is Richard's aunt, and if
she would have to be, because that's aunt.
Aunt,
Okay.
yeah.
So that would mean that she's Richard's sister, maybe, or mother.
Wait, if Richard and Robert were brothers, then she should be aunt to both of them, I think.
Maybe she's the great aunt to Damien and Mark.
Oh, something like that.
I don't know. It's kind of kooky. Everybody's related to somebody in some way.
Yeah.
But yeah, she definitely had an interesting floor death.
Yeah, I personally disliked her character because although we as the audience know that Damien is the Antichrist and stuff, she doesn't really have a way of knowing it for sure. So she was just being judgmental the way people get like when they just jump to conclusions about someone, they judge them in advance without giving them a chance. And she is that kind of person, and that's the kind of person I generally dislike both in fiction and in real life.
Well, she had. I would like to defend her in this thing. It's not that she was out. She does seem like she was that kind of a person, but she had good reason to be this distrustworthy of Damien. I think she knew that his father tried to kill him.
Yes, she did know that. Yeah.
And how did everyone mysteriously die around him? I mean, these were all things that she knew. I mean, there's got to be something wrong with Damien, and she didn't like the influence he had on Mark because of this, all of these deaths in the family.
Huh.
And and he's the only survivor. You got to look at it from her point a little bit.
Yeah, I guess I don't see what you mean.
Not that maybe she isn't a likable character. I mean, maybe she came off as like a little bit more crueler than you might think, or maybe it's just all of her wrinkles. I don't know, but I shouldn't make fun of wrinkles, because eventually we will all get them.
Yeah, that's true.
Eventually, your face will crack, just like mine.
Oh, I guess.
Well, it's always hope that we'll just be white-haired.
Yeah, eventually we will all look like this.
No.
Okay, not quite like that.
I'll look a little bit more handsomer than that.
Yeah.
I'll look like death warmed over. There we go.
Nice one.
Alrighty. So, after Marion's death.
Uh,
What's the next? Oh, that would probably have to be the. Was it the
uh,
bully?
oh yeah, after that there are some scenes at the academy. We get to know this guy, Sergeant Neff, for whom we later find out is also another member of the cult, and set up there to protect Damien.
And that's Lance Henriksen. He eventually played Pumpkinhead, and he was also in the Aliens franchise, as well as many other films of note. He played an android in Aliens, the movie. So,
Oh, cool.
but um, I like Lance as an actor. Oftentimes, he'll play a wicked character, or the person that's supposed to be like the somewhat hero. But
Yeah,
sometimes
although
he plays the bad guy.
mm, indeed, although as far as I remember in this movie, well, he was a member of the cult. He knew things about Damien and told him things Damien needed to know, but the sergeant himself didn't actually cause much harm on his own, from what I remember.
No,
Like, he didn't kill anyone or anything.
I think he was just there to be a presence.
Yeah.
A presence of a military faction that was higher in power and supposedly like the person to guide him, and I guess he was a little bit more truthful to him about certain things than his predecessors were, which may have been why things escalated the way they did with Mark.
Who? Wait, because of what do you mean? Because of Sergeant Neff?
Because he was truthful with him and telling him exactly what he was, you know, about what he's going to be.
Ah, oh yeah, yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Although,
he ran away, and it's because Mark overheard that shit. Is why
Mark heard it later when Charles Warren was warning Richard about it.
mm-hmm.
Uh, But yeah, that's one very interesting part because until so yeah, it's Sergeant Neff who tells Damien about that he should read the Revelation chapter 13, which is the one about the beast, which he says that in that chapter Damien will realize who he really is. And while we see Damien read that on screen, interestingly enough, he doesn't really read only from the book of Revelation, but also some lines from the book of Daniel, chapter 8, which also mentions something about an evil king who will rise to power, which I think some interpret as talk about the Antichrist, or maybe there are some other interpretations. I don't know generally, but in this movie, it's supposed to also be about the beast or the Antichrist. Uh, yeah, and that's actually one of the most interesting parts of this story to me, because when Damien finds out that he is the beast, he doesn't seem to like it. He storms out, runs away, and yells, "Why me?" Like he seems really traumatized by finding out what he is. Yet later on, he suddenly seems much more proud of who he is, and he embraces his power and his destiny, and it's not very clearly explained what happens that makes him change his mind. At first, my theory was that, as we mentioned, there is this one scene when Charles Warren, a friend of the Thorns, finds out about Damien being the Antichrist, about Yigiel's wall and all that stuff, and he warns Richard about it, and Damien overhears the conversation. And my theory was that at that point, Damien realized that there is evidence out there of who he is, and that that evidence will get found by people over and over again, and that they will keep trying to hunt him down, and that he can survive only if he accepts who he is and uses his power to fight back.
Ah,
Uh, that was my theory about it, but uh, this book actually provides a different explanation. It puts more emphasis on that in this scene when this gas leaking accident happens at Thorn Industries, when this guy David Passerian and some other people die, and Damien and his friends from the academy who happen to be there, they all inhale this gas, and no one takes serious damage, but they all of them are mildly affected, except Damien, who is not affected at all. And by
mm,
then, he already knows who he is. So in the book, it's described that at that point he realized that being who he is makes him invulnerable, and he kind of enjoys that. So that's how he starts accepting who he is.
okay. What about this Joan Hart character? She was a lady who evidently knew the curator of the museum, that evidently had learned of Buchenhagen or Buchenberger. What is his name?
Bugenhagen, yeah.
Buchenhagen. His and the things that he found out, and she really believes what she is. She is trying to tell Richard Thorn, and he's having none of it because he doesn't believe in that shit.
Yeah.
And you know how people react when they don't really believe in anything. They get themselves backed up into a wall, and then they're like Stonewall Jackson, and they just don't. They clam up, and then they just deny.
Oh yeah, now you really mentioned something that I have a lot to say about. One thing I really like about these movies is that they portray how being unwilling to hear someone out can bite you in the ass. I really like that aspect of the movie. Robert was doing that in the first one, and Richard in the second one, like it runs in the family or something.
Yep.
And that's something I really despise when the real life people do that. Like when someone is trying to tell you something, okay, you don't have to agree, you don't have to believe, but you can still be polite and let the other person finish what they were trying to say to you. I really hate when people just cut someone off and refuse to listen and hear the other person out.
Gregory Peck's character in the first one, the priest, was the one to warn him. He listened to him first, but he spouted off, in cryptic messages. To him, he sounded like a freak. So.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of true. But
Whereas Thornton here, Richard, when what's her name came to meet him, Joan Hart.
yeah, the lady in red, just
she
as the
she was sounding kind of crazy too.
well, yeah, she kind of did. Well, I just had to point this out because that's something that I really hate when people do in real life, even when someone is not really saying something that sounds delusional, when they're just trying to say something normal and the other person just cuts them off and refuses to listen. That
Oh, I get what you're saying because these people just didn't listen to reason. They listened at the last moment, and that's the thing that you catch through these films where uh, they're told the truth consistently through several different people, and no matter how many people show them and tell them, they deny until it's too late, you know,
indeed.
and then they put their foot in their mouth, and then they end up hanging themselves, basically.
Yeah, I must say I really like
For
that.
you, Damien. For you.
Yeah, although that one, that nanny who hung herself, she didn't.
She was quite crazy in love with him.
Possibly. But yeah, I mean, she didn't really know any dangerous secrets or anything. She was just, I guess, telepathically or something induced to do that so that Mrs. Baylock could take over her place. Yeah. Oh, by the way, another thing about Joan Hart in this one, since you mentioned her, I must say I found her death scene pretty interesting with this raven pecking her eyes out, and then she walks out on the road and she gets hit by a truck. I, I must say, I guess that scene may have been kind of scary in the 70s, but for today's standards, I found it somewhat morbidly hilarious when the raven attacked her. Although, yeah, I guess it was meant to be scary, but I found it rather morbidly funny to watch. Although I think it's pretty impressive how in the book that scene, although it's from what I remember pretty consistent with the movie, it is described in a way that makes it seem much more gruesome. Like it in the book, the description puts the emphasis on the pieces of her skin being left on the raven's beak as it keeps attacking her. So that was rather gruesome to read and made the scene much less funny.
Yeah, the descriptive words of how things really are can be quite gruesome.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Like when the killer came up behind her, she screamed, but it was too late. He stabbed at her flesh as the flesh peeled back, and the blood spilled out as the flesh was torn from her limbs as he dragged the skin over her back and over her ass and into the abyss of darkness as he lifted the blade again and again and again as it stabbed and stabbed.
Yeah, is that from some actual book or are you making it up right now?
I was making it up.
Wow.
See, it all begins with the storyteller. I had you hooked on that one.
Definitely.
It's like to me, it's all about how you can grab someone's attention, and I guarantee you that I could tell you were instantly like, okay, what the fuck is going to happen next?
Yeah, actually, funnily enough, I noticed a similar effect while I was writing my novel, which was based on John Bowker's movie, The Secret, as you know. Uh, if you remember that one scene when this red demonic character appears behind this one woman and starts unbuttoning her shirt in a somewhat erotic scene. At first, the first few times I watched the movie, I found that one of the less interesting scenes. I found the scenes with Tota much more interesting, as you know. But while I was writing my novel, and I had to describe that particular scene, I actually started to appreciate it much more when I had to get inside the head of the demon and describe its mental processes in that scene. And I basically ended up describing the demon. How do I say it? I described the demon craving death of God's creations the way a human being craves an orgasm. So that made the scene much more interesting, both to write and to read, than it may have been in the movie, and that automatically made it, to me at least, more interesting in the movie as well.
He could see the shape coming through the shadowy entrance, and as the shape appeared, the horns came first. The nails of the creature tore into his soul as if he were already inside. You could hear his flesh torn from his body, hair by hair, as literally he could feel his soul lift up out of his body, float over the passageway and into the darkness.
Yeah. And I also, when I was describing the visual appearance of that demonic character, I think, I hope, managed to make it scarier than it was in the movie. I mean, it's a B movie and a pretty old one, and at that time, those people weren't really able to make a demonic character look realistic and truly terrifying. It looked like a Halloween costume or something like that. But in my writing, I described the demon as being covered in wrinkled blood red skin. And in the movie, it had some black pieces of rubber stuck on its chest, and I described those as tiny bushes of black fur. And I said it had a grotesquely deformed face and yellow eyes. Okay, I made up the eyes; they were normal human eyes in the movie. So yeah, I stayed pretty accurate to what we saw in the movie, and I made it sound a bit more intimidating.
Sounds definitely cool. But in
Thank
any
you.
case, getting back to this,
We
wasn't there a
should.
wasn't there a field trip that his class went on of the Thorn Industries?
Field trip.
Yeah,
Uh,
where the classmates ended up getting hurt. through fire,
Uh,
and Damien survived.
you mean the accident at the Thorn Industries?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's this the gas leaking incident that I mentioned. It's another interesting part because before that there is a scene of this employee of the Thorn Industries, David Passerian, who happened to find out about some people getting murdered, and we don't really get to hear much about it explicitly, but it's implied that those people found out something about the shady business conducted by members of the cult and they got killed. And at first he told Paul Buer about it, not knowing that Buer is a member of the cult too. And Passerian said he would talk to Richard about it, but Buer said he would do it himself. And shortly after that, this freak accident happened with the gas, and Passerian died without getting to talk to Richard. And of course, Bueller didn't tell him anything logically. Uh,
And ultimately, uh, basically, the military class ends up visiting the Thorn Industries, and that gas leak happens, and
yeah, that's when David Passerian dies.
well, and some of the kids get hurt, don't they?
Yeah, it said that they got hurt, but no one got hurt too seriously. It's just pointed out that Damien was the only one who didn't get hurt at all,
Yep.
which leads to this
The
guy,
doctor.
Dr. Kane, running some tests. Yeah,
Yeah, he
finds out.
runs some tests, and he finds his blood is the blood type of a jackal.
Yeah. And just as he figures that out, he wants to consult a colleague about it, but he ends up.
He has an elevator accident.
Yeah, quite freaky. Was some cord or something. I don't even know what that thing was. It fell on him and cut him in half. Uh, yeah, kind of had a Darth Maul ending.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, and there is also. Oh wait, or maybe is
The
this before?
section of the wall from Yeagle's wall is on its way to the museum, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, and before
And
that, yes.
Warren went to go talk to Richard. And this is like after Mark has been killed.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mark gets killed before that, and Bill Atherton as well.
So, what do you think about um, the death of Mark?
Actually, I think that was probably the saddest death in the movie because throughout the movie there was quite a bit of emphasis put on Damien and Mark being really close and really caring about each other. Some people online even theorized that they had a secret romantic relationship. uh, yeah,
It's
and
possible. You know what they say, keep it in the family.
yeah, although even if that had happened, it wouldn't really have been incest since Damien was adopted.
Yeah, only in Chicago.
uh,
I'm just kidding. But this was in Chicago. It's not too far, which is like 2.5 hours away from me. So,
Indeed.
uh, I lived in Chicago for a couple of years, so I know the area. Just not sure if this was entirely filmed in Chicago.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe we can check out what IMDb says about that.
Yep, going back to it for a moment. Let's see. Oh,
huh.
countries of origin,
Oh,
filming
locations.
locations. Okay, so they actually did film it in Chicago. I guess the Thorn pesticide plant was filmed at the James W. Jardine water purification plant in
Yeah.
Chicago. The Thorn Industries building, the exterior and lobby, were Chicago City Hall on 121st and North LaSalle Street. And then the airport for Passarion's Return and Richard Thorne's Learjet. The airport is now demolished. It was at Merrill C. Meigs Field near Southside Chicago. I guess they filmed in Acre, Israel. St. John's Military Academy.
So it was a real academy.
Yeah, St. John's Military Academy on 1101 North Genesee Street in Delafield, Wisconsin.
Oh, is that somewhere near you?
I know where Delafield is. It's about 45 minutes away.
Oh, closer than Chicago.
Northwestern Military Academy in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. I guess parts of it. Belvoir Fortress in Israel is the castle exterior and courtyard in the opening scene. 1300 North Lake Shore Drive, Chicago, Illinois is Paul Buher's penthouse. 12th Street Yard in Chicago, Illinois was the train yard in New York City. I guess they filmed in Twin Lakes, Wisconsin. So Lake Forest Academy, 1500 West Kennedy Road, Lake Forest, Illinois. Museum of Science and Industry, 5th and Lakeshore Drive, Jackson Park. Hyde Park was the red elevator. Eagle River, Wisconsin, I guess it was somewhat filmed in. Field Museum of Natural History, 1400 South Lakeshore Drive near Southside, Chicago. The Hospitaller Knights Halls, an escape tunnel, Acre, Israel, was the interior of Belvoir Forest and tunnel collapse. And 231 South LaSalle Street was the Thorn building interiors. And then Stage 5, 20th Century Fox Studios on 10201 Pico Boulevard, Century City, Los Angeles, California. That was the studio that was used for anything else.
Wow, that's a lot of locations.
Yeah. But in any case, did we fully get to the end here yet, or no? No, we didn't quite get to the end.
No, and we skipped a few interesting things as well.
Okay, well, let's do the skipping parts first, and then we'll skip to the end.
Yeah. Well, one scene I found quite funny, and maybe it would be one of my favorite scenes when this teacher at the military academy was examining Damien's knowledge on history after Damien was caught, I don't know, drawing the teacher or laughing at the drawing of him or
Yeah, that
something
was
like
kind of
that.
cool.
Yeah, he kept asking questions, and Damien knew all about that.
That was
He
kind of
knew
cool.
everything.
And then Neff took him out of the class and was like, "What were you trying to do? You were trying to show off, weren't you?" And he was
He,
like, "No, I just knew all the answers, and I was just answering."
he did. And
But he kept pissing off the teacher because he knew every answer.
yeah, the teacher really, he was really humiliated. And that scene is also interesting in the novel. It's quite different in the book because in the movie there were a lot of different history questions unrelated to each other, and in the book they were all about Attila the Hun, and it was implied that Damien knew all the answers because he was actually Attila the Hun in a past life, and it said that I think it's implied that Attila the Hun was a previous incarnation of the Antichrist, which on one hand is an interesting detail, but on the other hand, it's a contradiction to the first novel because in the first novel, it said that before Damien's time, there were two previous incarnations of the Antichrist, and they were all hunted down by Bugenhagen's ancestors. And I don't remember the exact year when the first incarnation supposedly took place in the first novel, but it was, I remember it was much after Attila the Hun's time, so that's a contradiction. By that logic, Attila would have been. It would mean that there weren't two incarnations of the Antichrist before Damien, but three. So uh, I guess that happens when multiple different people are writing parts of the same story.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I agree. Just like the Bible was written by many different people.
oh yeah, oh yeah. That one
Mhm.
has a lot of contradictions as well.
But in any case, um, now let's go to the end where this is shortly after. Okay, so the wall ends up showing up on a train, or
Something like that.
and Warren is killed by one of the trains, um, and uh, but either shortly before or shortly after his death, Richard was able to see what was on the wall before it was destroyed. Um,
Yeah, actually, I think he was looking at it just when Charles Warren was getting killed.
yep. So this had him going to the museum, um, which he went to go get these daggers. Um, and lo and behold, his wife shows up, kills him, and I guess she is burned in the fire.
Yeah.
And Damien is then seen walking outside to meet the family driver in tears, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. I found that scene quite interesting when I was watching this movie for the first time, I was really shocked when it was revealed that Anne was a member of the cult all along. And there's a very interesting subplot about that, about the statue of the whore of
So
Babylon.
was that also in the book? The fact that his mother was also part of the cult?
Yes, yes, it was. And the first time I was watching the movie, I didn't really understand why she had to die. I mean, she was on his side. Why did he kill her after that? But I think in the book, not sure if in the second or in the third one, I think, at least I think, if I remember correctly, that it was in the books. That it was explained that she had to die because Damien had to be the only inheritor of the Thorn.
Well, yeah,
Dynasty.
he had
Uh,
to be the only inheritor because if she was still alive, then it would have gone to her.
yeah, that's it. And also, it could have been, although I think that wasn't specifically mentioned anywhere, but that's my theory. When there were these scenes in this movie when they were discussing the statue of the whore of Babylon, which is a statue portraying. Woman sitting on a seven-headed beast and holding a chalice, which, by the way, is a statue I would really love to have in my collection. But okay, that aside, uh, it, it's implied, although the Bible says that the whore of Babylon is not really a person, but a metaphor for Rome, or as some people interpret. Some people say it's actually a metaphor for organized religions that lead to getting killed in wars and things like that. Which I don't really know if that's the right interpretation or not. There are different interpretations, but this movie implies that the whore of Babylon may actually be a person, and that this is that. Like if Damien is the beast, then the woman riding the beast would be her. And in the book of Revelation, actually, that very beast whom the whore was riding, that beast kills the whore. So maybe that's why they, in a way, killed that.
Now, do you happen to know all the names on that statue of the Whore of Babylon? Yeah.
No, no, I don't really know all the names. I actually got interested in that statue because it visually, I mean, the description of the whore of Babylon matches the goddess Babylon from Aleister Crowley's literature, which I found out about in the performances of my one of my favorite music bands. They recently made a song about Babylon from Aleister Crowley's literature. So I kind of got interested in that statue, but no, I don't know all those names. Do you?
No, I was trying to figure out the darn names because they only mentioned three in in that slideshow that they were doing in the uh, early on in the film when they were talking about the War of Babylon to Richard.
Yeah, actually, I could look that up later. I think I'm not even sure if those names are listed in the Book of Revelation, but I could try to find out if there is any official source about that, or if they just made it up for the movie. I know there
You
are
know
quite
what you should you know what you should do? You
what.
should see if your sculptor friend can take a look at the statue of Babylon and might be able to sculpt that for you.
Oh, well, I must admit I've been considering that. Maybe at some point I will do it. Yeah, that person made this sculpture of Lilith for me.
I'm sure it wouldn't be that. Yeah, she's sexy as a beast.
Thank you. What were you going to say?
Does she have nipples?
Actually, it does. Not sure if I am allowed to show it in our video. Or if I am, I will show it.
You're allowed.
Okay, here it comes.
Neat.
Thank you.
Definitely some detail in that.
Yeah, I must admit this statue is a very precious part of my collection. It's unique. It was sculpted specifically for me. It was based on John Collier's painting of Lilith. And there were some older statues based on that painting, but they are all sold out. I literally couldn't find any. Wow, nice. What's that?
This is a Valkyrie.
Oh, very nice.
It's a little broken, but unfortunately, but I wish I could find another. But I have. As well, Odin.
Oh, nice. Odin from the Norse mythology.
Correct.
Oh, the All-Father. Very nice. I like statues of mythological characters. As you know, I have quite several here around me. If you maybe have time and want to see some more.
Well, in any case, I think that's everything thing with this film, unless you have anything else to say about it.
Oh, let's see if there was anything I failed to or forgot to mention. Well, I think we mentioned all that was important. We didn't discuss Bill Atherton's death, which was an interesting
that's right.
moment.
He fell through the ice.
Yeah, and an interesting thing about it is that before that happened, there was Mark's birthday party, and the cake at the party was it was made to resemble this ice hockey playground, and there was something like a pond on the cake. And when they started to cut the cake, they cut right through that. And that was foreshadowing of the ice cracking under Bill and leading to his death.
So, okay. So, what did you think about the production value of this film? Do you think that it was pretty good?
Yeah, it was definitely pretty good. It even received some awards, I think.
I know they received some awards in the special or the sound effects.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's see. Oh, 3 wins and 1 nomination. Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy and Horror Films USA. Nominee Saturn Award for Best Special Effects. Then it won the Best Compilation Album by Jerry Goldsmith for The Omen and Omen III, The Final Conflict. Yet for some reason it doesn't mention Omen II, which we are actually discussing right now. Yeah, that was International Film Music Critics Award and Motion Picture Sound Editors USA 1979 winner it Golden Reel Award for Best Sound Editing, Sound Effects, and Best Sound Editing Dialogue. Interesting.
Yep. So, what did you have a favorite scene that you wanted to
Well,
share with
one
the
of
audience?
one of my favorite scenes would definitely be the one with the teacher at the academy, but that was
That
I like
that was
that.
pretty.
Yeah, I like that scene because it was funny. But if we are going to talk about something more thought provoking, I'm sorry. Maybe that would be the scene when Damien found out that he is the Antichrist and he stormed out yelling, "Why me?" That's, to me at least, it was a very thought provoking and philosophical scene that opens a lot of room for debate because even if you know some things that happen in the third movie, but we will get to that at some other point. That scene is what makes it debatable whether Damien is really inherently evil or just another victim in the whole thing because he is what he is. He was born being what he is. He didn't really have much of a choice. And yeah, that can kind of make you feel sorry for him in the whole story.
Okay. My favorite scenes would probably be I would have to say that teacher one is one of my
Oh,
favorites. But if I had to think about a more thought provoking one, I would have to say the moment of revelation when they see um, the picture of Damien on the wall, and then they get buried alive in the very beginning.
oh,
Um,
oh, yeah, yeah. That's also the scene when we get to see.
Buchenhagen,
Yeah, well, I went to the statue of the whore of
Buchenberger.
Babylon.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. It's funny. Now I'm always reminded of you making that joke whenever I read that character's name or see him in a movie or something.
But in any case, I think that's it, ladies and gentlemen. So hopefully you enjoyed um, our journey so far into the uh, Omen franchise. So thank you for listening. Um, definitely, you can use this as like a guideline if you wanted to. Sorry about my voice. I know it's not the greatest, and
That's fine.
I know I've been somewhat coughing because
Uh,
I'm getting over a viral thing. So, but hopefully I'll be back and on the mend next week.
yeah, I hope so. I'm sorry, I've been coughing too, and yeah. By the way, this is just juice. It's not blood. I promise.
You sure?
Well, unless someone tricked me into drinking blood.
That's the trick, eh? Pig's
Yeah.
blood.
Oh my.
Pig's blood. Pig's blood looks like blood.
is
Anyways,
is that from some movie or something?
well, no, uh, they have used pig's blood before in movies from time to time. for blood effects. So, but other than that, no. But thank you for listening. Have a great day, evening, or morning, wherever you are, ladies and gentlemen. And
yeah, thank you all.
Just don't bring that Antichrist anywhere near me.
Yeah.
Damien.
Damien! It's all for you.